My name is Jeff Dale, for those of you that don't know me. We're going to talk about MNWarn today. There's been some confusion in the past couple of years that Minnesota Rural Water and MNWarn are, more than we really are. MNWarn is just a group of cities that are all part of a mutual aid agreement. Minnesota Rural Water is just part of that mutual aid agreement training process, okay? We're going to be the people that are going to be there when you have a disaster, but Minnesota Rural Water has no direct affiliation with MNWarn except we're part of that organization, just like a city is, okay? We don't have any special equipment that the cities wouldn't already have. Frank is going to help me with this. How many are members of MNWarn in here right now? How many are having problems getting their cities to join MNWarn because the administrator or the council doesn't think it's for them? And if you don't mind, this is a training session, will be wide open. Can you give me an idea of what your administrator or your council has said to you that
Just basically we have nothing to all.
Okay, that's the number one thing I'm hearing everyone, and his answer was, we have nothing to offer. And we'll get into the legal side of the MNWarn a little bit, but right there, I hear that a whole bunch. Now, if you're a small city and you don't have a pump, and you don't have a generator, you don't have any piece of equipment that you want to let another community use in the event of a disaster, what do you have left that you can offer? Manpower. Everyone in here is a trained, good, certified, licensed operator with a special skill, whether it's water or wastewater. That's what MNWarn's all about, is water and wastewater. How I approach that with councils and administrators, to be honest with you, is that, okay, you don't have anything to offer, you don't want to let your one-man show or your two-man show go to another community, that's fine. But still convince them to join as a member of MNWarn, because when you do have that disaster, are you expecting another city to come and help you? Of course you are. You're going to need that help if you get wiped out. Now, by not becoming a member, you're actually doing an injustice to the communities that can come and help you. Because if you're a member, it makes it easier for a city to come and assist you. So if you go back to your councils, your administrator, and try to convince them that we should be a member, that's the basis that I would use when you have that scenario, that you don't have anything to offer. Okay? And remember, you never have to respond to a neighboring community when there is an event. You never have to let your equipment go. This is all completely voluntary. So I know we kind of get ahead of that a little bit, but we're to that point where the same presentation for MNWarn kind of gets boring. I know many of you have heard it before, so I like to question like that. Can anyone else give me an idea of why their cities will not become a member?
My attorney.
Has anyone had their attorney say that they do not want to sign that mutual aid agreement? I'm not going to move ahead till someone says something.
Our biggest obstacle was probably just they were complacent. Nothing ever happened, so they didn't think that they needed it. And Frank was with me a lot when trying to get our city to approve it, and it just never came through until the shit hit the fan.
So the comment was their biggest obstacle was just complacency. Yeah, someday we'll have to get that done. And I'm sure that's a lot of it for members.
Every single small town should be a member because they need it worse than anybody. They don't have the equipment.
Every single what?
Small town.
Every single small town should become a member.
Larger towns got a lot more equipment of their own to handle problems. A lot of small towns, they get a rain event or something, they're going to be calling something or drowning in front of the other.
Yep. The comment was every single small town should become a member because they do not have the equipment. And it's a 100% true statement. What town are you from?
Wyndham.
Wyndham. Are you guys members?
Yep.
Good. You want another mic, Frank? Well, Minnesota Rural Water has been part of MNWarn since its inception, and a few cities, and I can remember the ones that started putting it together. But one thing that it does for us, when it first came out, I'm going to be honest with you, I read it and looked at it and thought, you know, another organization to join, whatever. Well, once we had all the rain events that we had in the last 5 or 6 years, you know, we've had these floods and had these floods and had these floods, it's just been unbelievable. I've really gotten to see how MNWarn has helped Minnesota Rural Water help other cities too. I run half the, from Highway 55 to the 3-state border south is my territory. After 12 years of doing this, I probably have 85% of the cell phone numbers in the state of Minnesota in my cell phone for water operators. So when you guys have an event, and we'll talk about how you're going to initiate a MNWarn event, but when you truly have an event and the stuff hits the fan like we talked about over here, who's the first people that a lot of you water operators are going to call?
Duty officer.
The duty officer maybe, but that wasn't the answer I was looking for. I know for a fact the majority of the water operators that start to flood and they don't know what to do and they're panicking and they're scared, sure, they call their local contact people, but a lot of times Minnesota Rural Water gets a phone call because we have that personal relationship with so many of the operators in the state. Now, you initiate that MNWarn event, I already know the neighboring operators around that community, so we already have that ball rolling. Okay, this is well before MNWarn, this is how it happened. Wyndham had a problem. I knew that the town next to Wyndham had a pump. That's what Wyndham needed. We did the legwork. We tried to get that equipment to move. Now, through the MNWarn, we've got a whole big network of people that have all this equipment that we can use. I can still make that phone call. Frank can still make that phone call. But under the MNWarn agreement, that equipment has already been okayed to move to the next city. The water operator doesn't have to go find the mayor. He doesn't have to go find the city council person. Doesn't have to find the administrator to ask permission to move that pump or generator to the next town. So it just adds that security blanket for the ones that are providing the assistance to the next community. So how many have had a MNWarn event that are in this room? Somebody, you just want to come up here and tell us about your ordeal? If you're not comfortable, that's fine. You don't have to.
You're kind of a shy guy.
Yeah.
Well, if anybody makes fun of you, I think they're in trouble. So.
I'm from the city of Barnum. My name's Brett Collier. We activated the MNWarn system, I believe, in June, right around the 20th, when we got dumped on pretty hard from all the rainfall.
If you don't know where he's from, it's up by Duluth when they had those big storms up by Duluth.
Within 12 hours of activating the MNWarn system, I had 7 operators show up with 7 pumps. Anybody from the city of Zimmerman here? Fridley? All right, one of you guys is getting a lot of beer. But I'd been up for 3 days by the time they showed up. These guys showed up, they relieved me, they watched the pumps overnight. Within, I think, 20 hours, we had the town back down to normal. So our wastewater system could kind of handle it. I don't know what to tell you other than if you're a small town and you're not a member, you need to become one. Because there's really no downside to it.
Tell them how it kind of came to be a member.
Well, what happened is our mayor was the one that was kind of hesitant about it. And once he found out what could finally happen when he was overwhelmed, we all were overwhelmed.
When what hit the fan?
The shit hit the fan. Jason finally agreed to it, and then we got all this help. But it kind of, you don't want to be on the back side of it, you want to be on the forward side of it. So if you're a small town, if you're under 1,000 people, for sure you should be part of it. We're a population of 640. We had a big pump and it kept up for part of it. But then it just lost. My lift station at the end, my pumps are under 22 feet of water. So then once you lose your lift station, you're done. But
Your entire community was under 4 feet of water?
Our entire downtown, we ended up losing 11 homes, completely done. 3 downtown businesses. Yeah. If that's not a wake-up call, I don't know what is.
So So you weren't a member of MNWarn when this event happened.
Right?
You became a member of MNWarn during the event.
Yep.
You got a picnic table, wasn't
Yep.
On the picnic table, the mayor decided that, okay, I think this MNWarn gig's pretty good. When the town's under how many feet of water?
At
4?
that point, we were probably, not quite 4 yet, but we were
Under 4 feet of water. This is a kind of a broken record story, everyone. When the southern Minnesota had the floods a few years ago, you know, we actually had communities that had equipment that they wanted to bring to the towns that were affected, but the towns that had the equipment would not allow that equipment to go to that affected community unless they were a MNWarn member. So now you have a community that's flooding, they need these pumps, the pumps are right there, but they can't cross the border until that community becomes a member. So it gives you an idea how much faith the members put in the mutual aid agreement to protect themselves. And that's what it's all about, that mutual aid agreement, to protect the communities that are giving the equipment and protect the communities that are receiving the equipment. Not only equipment, but the manpower too. Yep.
Why do they have to be a member? What's wrong with the neighborly thing to do?
Okay, the question was, why do they have to be a member? What's wrong with the neighborly thing to do? And that's a great question. And the mutual aid agreement, once again, protects everybody that's either providing the equipment or receiving the equipment. Okay, let's just do a scenario. You and I work together. We've been city buddies forever and ever. We have an event. I send my generator over to your community. The generator falls off the pickup and breaks. Who's responsible for that generator? Okay, now that's an easy one. We all have insurance, right? Let's put a real swing on it and say, you're delivering that generator to me. I called and asked you to bring it. You're taking it off the trailer. It falls on your foot and breaks your foot. Who's responsible for your foot? Who's got an answer for me?
Not me.
That's why we have attorneys, right? I don't know. Whose workman's comp is going to pay him for the next 6 months while his foot heals? Is it the city that received the equipment or the city that let him go? It happened in another town. So you can see where this is going. It turns into a legal matter. But with the mutual aid agreement, all of that is covered in black and white. So we don't have to wonder, what if?
You guys have all probably heard the mutual aid agreements with fire departments and sheriff's departments and power departments. Who's 90% of, or 99% of the attorneys for the cities in Minnesota? The League of Minnesota Cities. Guess who wrote all of these documents? The League of Minnesota Cities. It's all meshed together. It's all taken care of in advance. How much does it cost to be a member of Minnesota Rural Water? Not Minnesota Rural Water, MNWarn. The MNWarn group. What does it cost? Zero. How many cities are in there now?
The other scenario to your question is, what if you're both having trouble, and now that your buddy he needs the same thing, so he can't borrow to you. Now you don't know anybody. You can go on the website, you can get somebody who will help you find that equipment, find staff or whatever it is. So it's not just that, yeah, my buddy in the next town, he'll help me out. Sometimes that tornado comes through, it might wipe out everybody, or everybody might be flooding, so it's not just, that easy as it's one town.
Just to let everybody know too, quick, stay up here, Brent, but in Minnesota, there's 6 districts of MNWarn representatives. Brent is one out of Dawson, he covers Southwest. Dave Isaacson is Northeast. Jerry Hawley is Northwest. Central is St. Cloud. Lisa. Boldrick. Southwest is Pete Moulton, or not Pete Moulton, but Southeast is Pete Moulton's region. And then Marty Glenn is out of the metro. So when a phone call comes in, and maybe I'm getting a little bit ahead here, but these individuals here, Brent from Dawson or Dave Isaacson from Kettle River, when you make that phone call into that duty officer, these are the first individuals that receive that phone call to start the region of the MNWarn mishap in your region. So you understand that the duty officer is the first call, these go to these MNWarn representatives, and that's how quickly this whole process works, which happened in the Northeast and it's happened in the Southwest.
And as a director, we'll call you, ask you, what do you need? And you'll tell us, and then we'll find that stuff for you. And we'll try to get it delivered to you as best as possible. And most cities, when you call them, they'll deliver it because they know you're in the same situation they could be in some days. So they're willing to deliver it. So it comes down to, it's a lot easier if you're a MNWarn member.
Like Brent said, this is where some of the confusion comes in, you know, we're all MNWarn. Brent's MNWarn, I'm MNWarn, the cities are MNWarn. Brent doesn't have any equipment, okay? The city of Dawson does, but MNWarn has no equipment. The only equipment that's there is what each city has. So when we're gonna deliver it, when we say we, what do I mean?
So,
Everybody in this room is gonna be the people that are gonna deliver that equipment, if they so choose to.
they need to, and you need to update your records. A lot of people are members, but they don't have that, they have any equipment. You need to put it down so when that town calls us at 3 o'clock in the morning, I can go online and find that piece of equipment. The town 15 miles away from you might have it. If I don't know you have it, I can't get it to them. So it works for everybody. It's just not, well, I don't need to borrow anything to anybody. Well, someday you might need it. If everybody has that attitude, you'll never get it. So.
What Brent is talking about, once you become a member, there's a private side to the website and there's a public side to the website of MNWarn. Once you become a member, you get on the private side of the website. That gives you access to all the other communities' equipment that they are putting on the MNWarn website as far as usable equipment. So, for instance, if there is an event in southwestern Minnesota, Brent's the district rep. I know we're not going to follow this thing because that gets boring, but what will happen is you're going to talk to the duty officer, right? Your first call to the duty officer. The duty officer is going to call Brent, and they're going to say, the city of Fulda just had a tornado come through. Their needs are pumps and generators, okay? Now the duty officer is going to make that one call to Brent and give Brent the contact name of the person in Fulda with their needs. So one call from your community as a member of MNWarn, and you're back doing what you need to be doing, is in Brent's hands to contact all the other members in that region to find the equipment that you need. And how many phone calls did you have to make as the water operator that night after that tornado wiped everything out? Just one phone call. So that's the beauty of it. You know, you've got people back in a nice office in their house, you know, kicked back, talking on the phone, trying to help you because your office is gone or it's underwater, okay? That's really the simplest part of it all. Now the website that Brent was talking about is you'll go on there and you'll put your equipment in there. Well, let's say that you've got 3 generators and 2 pumps in your community, but you go, you know, I don't really want to ever see that pump leave town. Don't put it on the list. That pump will stay in your community forever, whether you're a MNWarn member or not. Okay? Just put down what you're willing to let go. So, if we have an event and you're close to the event area and you're kind of nervous that, boy, you know, I'm riding the edge of my lift station right now. I haven't had to bypass yet, but I might have to. And Brent calls and said, I see you have a 4-inch trash pump. Can we borrow that trash pump? Or under the MNWarn agreement, can we take that trash pump to City X? Do you have to let it go because Brent called you? No, you just say, no, we don't dare let that leave town right now. What's Brent going to do?
I'll call the next town.
He's just going to call the next town. And what are we going to start in that circle, right? We're just going to keep working our way out until we get all the equipment that you need. In your case up there, how long did it take to get these pumps to your community?
Within 12 hours, the time that we activated, they showed up, they hit 5:30 the next day.
We kind of had that one planned in Northeast. I had talked to Brett, and the phone call, I asked Brett, I said, when do you need these pumps? And he says, well, I need them in about, I think it was 12 hours.
Right.
And they were waiting, we told, right, where, that's interesting up in that Northeast region, what happens is the rain events were so heavy and so bad. Just to give you a quick, I live in Park Rapids, Minnesota. I left Park Rapids with a phone call from Cohasset and met 2 guys in Reamer. We had a 6-inch pump behind my truck, another 6-inch pump that we drove in tandem to the city of Carlton. From the city of Carlton, Zimmerman was there, St. Cloud was there. From basically Carlton, Cloquet area, basically these pumps just moved down the river. So it was almost like a leapfrog. So people understand is the MNWarn worked that much quicker. Why? Well, like Jeff had mentioned, We know most of the operators in the region. It was a phone call to Brett, okay, I'm gonna meet you there, we're gonna sign the MNWarn agreement, when do you need the pumps? Really, I was in Barnum for half an hour. They wouldn't let me cross the bridge again until Brett flexed his muscles and says, you gotta let this guy back across because his pickup's over there. They were closing the bridge down because the water was coming over the bridge. They were citing tickets, $150 if you cross the river. Well, just to let you know how quickly things happened here with all these pumps moving, with, I think it was Brent?
No,
Marty?
Marty took it.
Marty took that.
Yeah.
Dave, because Dave had his own
You were for it.
MNWarn emergency, who's the MNWarn director, which probably is one of the rarest things that could happen. But Dave was busy doing his thing, then went from Barnum, Kettle River, Sturgeon. I mean, these pumps just basically leapfrog right down Highway 35. But all that happened through the MNWarn network. Quickly. I mean, you guys had pumps when you needed them. Now.
What was nice about it is because I couldn't handle that situation because my own was going on. Duty officer contacted her, Marty Glim contacted him, and Marty Glim, sitting down in Shakopee, actually was able to locate all the equipment, get in contact with all these guys and send stuff up. So I mean, I could just take care of my own stuff going on, and I didn't have to worry about things. So Marty, I had it all under control. Looking from the outside in, it's a clearer picture, I think. And the only thing is, I think the downfall was that Barnum, Moose Lake, I don't know if Carlton was even signed up before this happened because they figured it's not going to happen to us. Well,
They also say, I have nothing to contribute to
yeah.
that. You always got something.
Oh yeah, you look on that list, you go on the private side, there's always something you can do. If anything, you can be an operator somewhere.
Yep.
Yeah, if you couldn't hear what we're talking about up front here, is one of the directors was actually affected by one of the events, so that director wasn't able to take care of his part of the community, that part of the state, when the event happened, and it just moves on to another director to take care of that. So there's a big umbrella of protection for everyone out there to get what they need. One thing that you'll see up here is utilities must fill the gap between disaster onset and arrival of government aid. Well, we all know what FEMA is all about. One thing that FEMA does is FEMA recognizes the mutual aid agreement that your communities are going to sign. So if you're a member of MNWarn, you've got that mutual aid agreement signed and in place prior to an event, FEMA will pay pretty much all your bills, if they're a legitimate bill, without going through all the red tape that a community that's not a member or does not have that mutual aid agreement in place. For the new people in here, just think of a mutual aid agreement that have never heard of MNWarn before. We all have fire departments, correct? Have you ever heard of mutual aid agreements between fire departments? Sure, this is basically the same thing for the newer people. It's just a mutual aid agreement for water wastewater operators, because we were always forgotten about. If there's a big storm, what do you see going to all these towns? What's the first thing you see on the news going to all these towns? Not fire departments, electrical. We see electrical utilities come from where? From California to the East Coast? You know, we did. You know, and all of that is through a mutual aid agreement. The same type of mutual aid agreement that we're trying to convince all the cities in Minnesota to join. Because you've got that kind of network, that kind of access to equipment and people to come in and help your disaster be not such a disaster.
You don't have to have ISO training in your place to be on there.
The question was, do you have to have ISO training to be part of it? And the answer is no.
You can even be stupid and be on it.
Yeah, that said it all. So if you didn't hear him, he said you can even be stupid and be on it. These are just some pictures that have taken place in Minnesota in the last 5 to 7 years.
Does the league have boilerplate templates you can get?
Does the league have boilerplate templates as far as?
The agreements to have your council sign and stuff?
Well, what we have right now, and you can get it on the website, everyone. There's a mutual aid agreement and a resolution and a mutual aid agreement that your cities will sign. Now, before you go in and approach your council or approach your administrator and explain MNWarn to them, just do a little homework. If you can't find it, call the office, ask any of the people at our office, and you'll print off the mutual aid agreement and the resolution signature sheet. So once you've decided to become a member, the council has to vote unanimously, or whatever your voting rules are, to sign the mutual aid agreement and the resolution, and you're a member. And it's all done. So all those forms, to answer your question, are in place. You just go to the MNWarn website or our website and download those forms and print them off. It's a simple process to do. Participation is voluntary. At no time do you ever have to respond to an event, either with yourself or with any equipment. All you have to do is say, sorry, I'm not interested. I'm going to wait for the event to happen to me. That's perfectly fine. You do not have to go.
Just to back up that, where you were talking about the FEMA and not being part of MNWarn, it speeds that system up. Our city was not part of MNWarn at the time that we had that flooding, and our city wasn't affected very, very badly during the flooding, but FEMA did end up coming through and having to document all the stuff that we did put in for. And you are exactly right by saying if we would have been part of MNWarn at that whole process of documentation would have been
You want to come up here?
really quick.
I'm sorry to make you repeat it, but then everyone will be able to hear it. This is Pat from Hill City.
Yeah, the city that I'm from was not part of MNWarn at the time that they had the flooding up there at that time. But it was very well known that when FEMA did come in, when we were trying to get money to upgrade all the roads that was washed out, they had said the same thing. If that would have been part of the MNWarn, that whole FEMA thing would have went a lot quicker than it did. So what they were talking about as far as being part of MNWarn, even in the FEMA part, that was a huge thing that makes things go faster than that.
Thank you very much. And we've heard this before from several communities that, we're members in MNWarn, or what were we just talking? FEMA. When FEMA came in and they said it was just smooth. But one thing you kind of get with the MNWarn membership is you do gain some knowledge. You do gain some training on what to do. And we've all kind of learned through School of Hard Knocks since this started. Frank has probably been involved in more events than I have, but that the training portion that you'll get as far as, when the equipment came, who brought it, what size the equipment is, how long was it there, how many hours were on it. All of those little things that we don't really think about, especially when you're the person that has the event and everybody wants to talk to you. The mayor wants to talk to you, the sheriff wants to talk to you, PCA wants to talk to you, MDH wants to talk to you. You're getting pulled in all these directions. These MNWarn people that come in to help you now, whether it's Minnesota Rural Water or your neighboring community, they've had a little bit of training now and they know, okay, did you document the time that pump came? Did you document the time that person delivered it? Did you document what am I missing, Frank? You did a bunch of this.
One of the things that's pretty nice today about smartphones and cameras and digital world that we live in, that's exactly right. Take a picture of a pump, the horsepower. Is it diesel driven, is it gas driven? How big the inlet and the outlet is the pump? Is it on a trailer? What brand it is. The reason why these things are so important, and we're just picking on pumps here, but this could be a loader, this could be a pickup truck, it could be whatever it would be. FEMA would not even recognize it unless all data was recorded on a sheet with documentation. If you said, well, we weren't quite sure if it was gas or diesel, or if it was 30 or 50 or a 1,400 gallon a minute pump or an 800 gallon a minute pump, they would throw it out. Why? Well, because FEMA is not going to go down and hunt for all these pumps and everything. So if you don't have the documentation, you're out of luck. So if you just had a $15,000 or $20,000 pump bill, you got to eat it. So it is vitally important that the individual that's receiving equipment from a MNWarn activation has to be the documentary person that keeps everything in a log and a handbook. And it actually goes pretty smooth. That was one of the things that I kind of did. Brent, did you have anything you wanted to say?
You told us to do that, and if you hadn't, trying to remember all that stuff, because I was fresh, I wrote it down right away when you told me, but they would show up for 3 months after the fact.
Right.
And if you don't write it down, you didn't take pictures, you're good luck.
I just said if they didn't write it down, FEMA's going to come through 3, 4, 5 months later. Where's your documentation? Some of these towns had $20,000, $30,000 pump bills. Well, you got diesel fuel on top of this and mold charges and things. Who's going to pay for it? Well, If you documented it, FEMA would cover it. If you didn't, you're out the money. So it is extremely important. And FEMA has gotten much more, well, less lenient on this because why? There's been so many huge events that have happened in the last 10, 15 years that have been billion-dollar storms. Well, there's only so much money in the budget. So it's really extremely important. So remember, document, document, document. If you need help during these events, I don't know, I know probably
We're all here to help you.
us staff and probably a lot of people in the room have been on most of these, so.
Too many events have taken place, so we do actually have some experts now. One of the questions that I get often is, who pays for it? Well, to be a member of MNWarn is free, correct? Doesn't cost anything. But let's say that you do have that pump that you deliver to that community now. What does every city have to have in place, whether you're a member of MNWarn or not? What should you all have in place? Fee schedule. How many don't have a fee schedule? I'm just really curious. I run into quite a few. You know, if you don't have a fee schedule, put one together because that also protects you under that FEMA agreement. All right? If your pump is going to be $80 an hour, you have that fee schedule in place. It was in place prior to the event. Now, when you deliver that piece of equipment to that community, you know that that pump is $80 an hour runtime. You know that that man and that vehicle is $65 an hour. Whatever your fee schedule is set up. So from the time you leave your community to provide assistance to another MNWarn member, okay, you're documenting all your time, you're documenting the equipment that you've delivered, and then your time back. Now that's going to be a bill that you're going to send to the receiving community. Okay, if it's under the MNWarn agreement, that's how it's going to work. So the city that's giving the equipment and the manpower away is being reimbursed for all of it. So how many of us take that piece of equipment on, and it's not a MNWarn partnership, and just let other communities use it? We all did that, right? How many of you are thinking, you know what, this guy uses this jetter more than I do, and it's my jetter? How many have been there? Right? So, can you use the mutual aid agreement under MNWarn for just that instance, true or false? It's not a MNWarn event. Guy just wants to borrow my pump or borrow my jetter. Sure you can. You can use that mutual aid agreement and you can use your fee schedule. So the next time that community calls and say, can I borrow your jetter? You can say, absolutely. We'll use the mutual aid agreement to cover if anything happens to you when you're here, anything happens to me, anything happens to that piece of equipment, and our fee schedule says it's $85 an hour. So there's another facet to the mutual aid agreement that can be beneficial to you too. 3 minutes? So I know somebody's got a question here about MNWarn. Just one. We got 2 questions back here.
Yeah, what would happen if the equipment fails? And who pays for the repair of that equipment?
The question, everyone heard the question. The owner of that piece of equipment is responsible for that piece of equipment. Remember now, you have a fee schedule set up, right? $85 an hour for that pump or that generator. If the equipment fails and doesn't work, the person that received the equipment brings it back, and the city that gave that equipment to them makes the repair. Okay, because you're actually charging for the use of that piece of equipment. But remember, when all this is going down, everybody's, you know, we have a serious event going on, typically.
Question. Go ahead.
So no one's going to turn that pump away because it might break.
So I'm from Sturgeon Lake. We're just a couple miles south of Barnum here with Brett. And we wasn't quite a picnic table joining of the MNWarn, but it was very close. And it's kind of been on the back burner ever since then. Where do I go to update my equipment list? Who do I talk to? Do I get in contact with somebody on the website?
The answer to that is once you get a password where you will be protected that you own it as the city of Sturgeon Lake, you can go in and update all those records yourself through a back page. There's a front page of the website which kind of gives you updates of things, and then you will have your own private password protected backlog page that only members can get into to look for that equipment. So you would get that password, go to the back page, fill out your equipment list, log out, and that's your update. So you can do everything right from your
Do I
computer.
already have it? Or do I need to request it?
No, you have it. If you don't have the password, then you need to request it,
Okay.
okay?
Call and talk to Lori or somebody in the office, they'll give it to you if you don't have your
Send her
password.
an email.
Send her an email, yeah.
If you remember, she'll give it to you.
Yep.
Repeat that, Frank.
If you are a member and you're wondering where that back home page or that backlog page is to get into to update your equipment list, you would call Minnesota Rural Water, ask for Lori, she would send you that password protected site that you can get in and update.
Don't call Brent, because he won't know.
I don't know mine.
Well, thanks a lot for coming. If you have any other questions on this, you can always call our office and they can help you through it. Thank you.